So today we're going to have a little talk over tea about grief. So we got to wait for the tea to be done. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We were going to go on an adventure this week, but I haven't quite got my act together to do that. Where I live, there's a lot of Gold Country history, and I thought about taking us on a Gold Country adventure, but then I realized that maybe you're like me and you appreciate history, different types of history, but maybe you like funky, interesting stuff too, like murals and just funky, interesting places, which there are a lot of around. So I thought what I would do, instead of us going on an adventure right now, I'm going to take us on my process of how I can find someplace that's near me, within 2-hour drive at least, that would be kind of funky, that I've never gone before, and maybe you've never gone before either. So there's that. So instead of that, I wanted to talk about grief today, which is a pretty difficult topic for all of us. I think if you live in the US especially, you're supposed to get over it quickly. This is not reality. I mean, how many of us were only allowed to have maybe a day off to go to a funeral for a loved one? But I started thinking about grief because of shortbread cookies. Now stay with me. I have never made shortbread cookies, and I have always thought they were super, super difficult to make. And then a couple years ago, a friend of mine's mom, who is English, my mom is English too, by the way, and my father is English. I have one of those blended families, but my stepfather, who I call my dad, is American, grew up on, I don't even know what just what went by in the back. Anyway, I came from a blended family, and I'd always thought shortbread cookies were really difficult to make. But I thought this week, maybe I'll try them. Maybe I'll just try. I love cookies. I love making cookies. I haven't made them for a really long time, but I thought, I'll give it a try. And it turns out they look really easy, which is what my friend's mother said. She said they're super easy. And I remember her saying that a couple of years ago, and I was like, I think she's full of it. I don't think so. But then I looked at the recipe and I was like, my gosh, they look really, really easy to make. But then it reminded me of my dad, who grew up on a farm in South Dakota, my stepdad. And I don't know if you're like me. I don't know if it's an introvert thing, but I tend to go down rabbit holes in my mind, like memories. And I remember my dad, who passed away December 3rd of 2011, so he's been passed for quite a while now. But I remember he always wanted my mom or I to make fried chicken for him. Now, I always thought fried chicken was really difficult to make. My mom never made it because she thought it was difficult and messy. And it was one of those things I realized much later after he passed, that it was something that he just wanted one of us to do to kind of spoil him, right? Sometimes it's the little things in our life when we have our loved ones or have someone love us, right? It's just those little things that they do for us that mean a lot. And this is one of the things I think with grief, you're always going to have a regret, even if you have a good relationship with that person who's passed and you have generally good memories. If you have an honest relationship, it's not always going to be good memories, no matter if it's your parents, your spouse, your children, whatever. Life is always a mixed bag, right? But a couple years after he passed, I decided to make fried chicken. I don't know why. I just decided to do it. And just for a little bit of background, my best friend passed away about 3 months after my dad did. So it was an interesting time. And just to let you know, grief never really stops. There's it's like your heart just expands and kind of accepts it to some level. But then, like with the fried chicken thing, I decided to make fried chicken a couple years after he passed, and it was not difficult at all. Kind of like the shortbread cookies. It was not difficult at all. As long as you follow the recipe, get the oil to use the right oil, get to the oil to the right temperature, dredge your chicken correctly. You know, it takes time, it takes care, but it's not difficult. And I just remember when I made it thinking, Dad just always wanted this, right? And he would mention it for years. I guess I'm I can be a little stubborn or obstinate or whatever. Like I said, my mom didn't do it either. So, but all of us were working. We were busy with our lives, you know, the whole 9 yards. But it's those little things that sometimes we talk ourselves out of that can be very reaffirming to people. Those little things that for whatever reason we're being obstinate or stubborn, or we think it's too hard or it's too difficult. And when a person is gone, you don't have the opportunity to do them anymore. And when you're walking through grief, you're going to remember those things. And I think that's why you hear people say, who have gone through grief, make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them every day, right? After every conversation or when they leave the house, because you just don't know. And you want them to know that you love them. Like I said, my best friend died about 14 weeks after my dad did. And she and I were sort of the same as far as being introverts, and we like respected each other's boundaries, and we were not overly expressive with each other. But I remember when she told me, because she had cancer, her cancer came back. And I remember when she told me that, I thought, you know, I'm going to acknowledge this. Obviously you have to, because that's the way you support people. But I'm also going to tell her that I love her after every phone call, right? And we talked a lot. And I would, you know, when I would see her and maybe take her to radiation or chemo, whatever, you know, I would always tell her I loved her. And that was the only concession I would make to the disease, besides the fact that we would talk about it and, you know, that type of thing, which as friends and people that you love, that's what you need to do, is sit with people and hold space with them when they're going through it, just like they do with you. And I was thinking about this fall too, because I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit, but every fall I remember her because she used to love pumpkin spice lattes. And so I don't like pumpkin spice lattes, but every year in fall when they come on the menu at Starbucks, which is where we would go, and she would go, oh good, they have pumpkin spice lattes. Every year now, she passed away in 2012, I go and have a pumpkin spice latte and remember her. And I think it's important for us to develop those little actions to honor the people that we love. Every time I make fried chicken, I think of my dad. Every time I have a pumpkin spice latte, I think of my best friend. And that helps. It helps to honor the love I had for them. And I think that's important. We can't just push these things down and act like they don't exist. And I think we have a tendency, and I definitely have a tendency, to just go on with our lives when there's a hole there that needs to be honored and taken care of. And you don't want to stop your life. And sometimes that's what happens with grief. The grief is so devastatingly bad that it halts your life, or it takes away your memory for a while. But you have to honor that. And also, while people are still with us, don't talk yourself out of doing something because you think it's too difficult. something that they may like that's not going to take any skin off of your nose to do. And like I said, I think of that every time I make fried chicken or I think of fried chicken. And my rabbit hole went from shortbread cookies to fried chicken to pumpkin spice lattes. So maybe later this week, I will take you with me when I go and have my pumpkin spice latte to honor my friend. And maybe this year I might actually enjoy it. I might actually like the pumpkin spice latte. But it makes me think of her beautiful smile every time I have it and how excited she would be. It's fall, they're going to have pumpkin spice lattes. And those are the things you have to remember during grieving times. So I just wanted to share that with you today. Later on this week, I'll take you with me for the pumpkin spice latte, the annual pumpkin spice latte. And also look forward to a video where I figure out where we're going to go that's cool and funky instead of just kind of normal and mundane. So anyway, thanks for sticking with me. And if you want to follow along of a over 50-year-old introvert solo person making their way through life, I would love to have you on my journey, and just subscribe or press the like button, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.